in the office. That is what is happening in our country.
We have details plus some analysis. Also, family of 3, including a breastfeeding baby, to spend 3 months in jail as they are found guilty of stealing half a sack of maize.
We were sent to the police station, processed for court and sentenced. We pleaded that we have children and that my sister was carrying a baby, but that didn't yield much.
We have details as the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice renews calls for laws on non-custodial sentences to be imposed on petty offences in business.
PricewaterhouseCoopers recovers 400 million cedis so far from sale of assets of UT and Capital Bank.
And in sports?
Later in sports, Technical Director of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Coach Ofori Asare, is already counting the benefits of the upcoming National Boxing League.
And much later, former President John Dramani Mahama accuses the NPP of deceiving the Ghanaian populace with its numerous campaign promises as he slams government for the total neglect of projects started by the previous administration.
One district, one factory. It sounds nice to the ear. One village, one town. Where's one is the $1 million? 1 million, one constituency per year. They call the minister. Where's the $1 million for 2017? And he said, oh, the 2017 one, it has expired.
We have all that and more here on Newsnight. You may want to join us with your thoughts and comments via WhatsApp. It's 0244 340 437. I am MFA Pau.
And my name is Evan Spencer. Details after the break.
Hey, Yimshi. I noticed that all the national stadia in Ghana have lasted for decades.
Oh, yes. But do you also know that the concrete bridges are also decades old?
Yes.
Only one company in Ghana can give you that guarantee, and that is Gasem.
Cement that guarantees smooth finishing of plastering.
That is the Gasem Super Rapid 32.5R. If you want to have strong blocks for any form of construction, use Gasem Super Strong 42.5R. For your time-tested bridges like the Adome, multi-story buildings, highways like the motorway, then it is Gasem Extra 42.5N.
And the good news is, all these cement products are made right here in Ghana.
Gasem, 3 cement grades, unique quality. Gasem, the nation builder.
You're welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Now, Joy News is tonight learning of some bickering among the top rank of the Ghana Police Service following the award of a 1-year contract to the Deputy IGP. COP James Oponbenwa was appointed to the position of Deputy IGP about 2 weeks to his retirement. This raised questions, with some speculating it might be part of efforts to compel or convince the president to give him an extension. Well, that is confirmed now. My colleague Ernest Manu joins me in the studio with a copy of the letter signed by the Secretary to the President, Anasanti Bidietu. Ernest, what does the letter say?
So it says a 1-year contract of service as Deputy Inspector General of Police, and it reads with reference to your letter dated 17 September 2018 and a memo dated 3rd October 2018 from the Minister for Interior on the subject matter above. I am pleased to inform you that the President of the Republic has granted you a 1-year contract of service as Deputy Director of Police, and there seems to be a problem there. Perhaps it's supposed to be Deputy Inspector General of Police and not Deputy Director General of Police, effective 8th October 2018 to 7th October 2019. I take this opportunity to congratulate you once again. Kindly indicate your acceptance or otherwise of this appointment within 14 days of receipt of this letter. Please accept the President's best wishes. It's signed, Nana Bidietu Asante, Secretary to the President.
It appears he applied or requested for this extension, and we are hearing of some uneasiness at the top hierarchy of the police service because of that approach.
Yes, Evans, the first line of the statement makes reference to a letter or a memo generated by him, but that is not normal practice in the service. Now, some senior police officers who are not happy about this are of the view that the move blocks the chance of equally qualified or competent younger officers who can occupy the position. Now, in fact, the Auditor General spoke about this practice last month at the Kojoba Memorial Lectures, and we can listen to him.
Mr. Chairman, I want to also submit here again that when the curtain falls, Ghanaians should learn to leave the stage. It seems when the curtain falls, the Ghanaian think it's time to go and prepare and come back, which is another problem for the public service. Our constitution says that when you turn 60, go home. It's as simple as that. Immediately you reach 60 years, go home. And when I'm 60 years, I've been telling my colleagues that I won't ask for even 1 minute, because I think when I'm 60 years, I must go for someone to also come. People are over 60 years, and of course, yes, the Constitution mandates the president to give 2 years, 2 years, and what? 1. That is 5 years in addition to the 60. Change the law if you think the retiring age should be 80. The disturbing part of it is that we have our graduates on the street. They don't have job to do, and we think we must remain in the office. That is what is happening in our country. That is not as disturbing as the fact that 2 things which disturb him, Mr. Chairman. 1, they block the opportunity for the young ones to also get some work to do. It disturbs me a lot. A second portion of it is that most of these guys are on good pension. Some of them, their pension is better than even the workers' pension, especially those who get Cap 30 and those type of schemes. So they get that pension and they get monthly salary, and they are weak. So they come to office, productivity is about 2 hours a day, and that's the end of it. I don't think this is very good. I agree with those who think we should increase the pension age, but until we have issued it, we have increased or changed the law, I will continue disturbing those who are above age.
So, Ernest, you also mentioned some other persons, other top hierarchy who could occupy the position. Who are some of these people?
So currently, there's the hierarchy at the police. We have the IGP, who is a retiree himself, the deputy IGP, who is also now a retiree.
But extended.
Extended. We have COP Prosper Adble. He has 1 more year to retire. DCOP Dr. Ekufu Dampari. Then COP Christian Tete Yohonu. We also have Commander 1, as it's popularly referred to, Kofi Boache, COP Kofi Boache. There's also COP Beatrice Zatpa Vim Zanziri. It goes on, and then we have COP Kenyeboa as well, MFA.
Now, these are other, of course, commissioners of police, or equally qualified to occupy that position. Yeah, now, the concern of, and we've heard from people within the police service, the concern of these other people in the police service is that when you have other people who are qualified, who are not retirees, they haven't hit the 60 years mark yet, why do you give a deputy position to somebody who has retired and should go? Even there's the speculation in the police service that it is sort of a bridge to allow him to then occupy the substantive IGP position once.
Because the substantive IGP, who is on contract, by the way, his contract ends next year, August, and this contract will end in October. It means that before the IGP leaves, this deputy might have to act for about 2 months before he goes.
But this is interesting, and this is happening. You remember that recently there were some police officers who were reassigned in the service. The reassignment, it included Mr. COP Dampari, who was reassigned to do something else. And then shortly after that, we've seen this confirmation of the extension of the 1 year period given to the man who has retired, who is occupying the deputy IG's position. Let's speak to a man who understands the inner workings of the police service now. He's security analyst with the Security Warehouse Limited, Adams Bonner. Thank you for your time here on Newsnight. What do you make of this?
Yes, thank you very much, Evans. Good evening to your cherished listeners. Well, for me, this position of deputy IGP extension of the contract didn't come to me as too much of a surprise. The simple reason is that it's a norm where 99% of commissioners of police who are due to go on retirement would usually, if they want to, ask for, an extension of a sort, and it's usually granted. And, 99% of the time it is granted. And so for me, it didn't come to me as anything surprising at all. But one thing that probably I still didn't understand had to do with the reshuffle, because we had a reshuffle recently somewhere in April, May, thereabout. And so this one, I'm not sure why it was done, but then the president probably, I believe most of these things were done at the flags, the Jubilee House. And so we need to ask questions and know why this, and also for upon Bueno, the deputy IG, I would say that he has been appointed for strategic reasons. You realize 2019, we are going to have the campaign season, political campaign season kicks in. And David Asante appeared to himself, COP. He would be retiring somewhere, next year. His extension would be expiring earlier than this 1 year given to upon Bueno. So it means that for the leadership of this country, consistency with regards to security is very important. At every time, you want to ensure that there is no vacancy. And so to get somebody who will do a year, and so when this man is going, there's somebody who is in an acting position, probably is going to be confirmed. I believe strongly that he will be confirmed to be the IG when David Asante.
You mean this current deputy IGP?
Yes, I believe strongly.
But isn't that a concern that we've heard from within the service itself in the wake of his confirmation extension of his time within the service when he should be on retirement?
Yes, that's true. I have spoken to a couple of the senior officers. I won't mention names, and they raised concerns and they thought that the system should have been fair to them. But there again, I believe that these are things that we have to look at, per the Constitution, because once the president is right to appoint IGP and commissioners and call them deputy IGPs, then it becomes difficult for myself and you to speak to some of these things and try to change.
Yeah. So legally, nothing has been done in breach of the regulations. However,
not at all.
Seeing that this deputy IG's position is one that has been on fill for years, and this is not a substantive IG. This is a deputy IG's position. And as we've laid out, there are many other very qualified COPs who can occupy that position. This is a deputy IG's position. If you do it for the substantive position, people say, yeah, that's fine because the law allows that. But for a deputy IG's position, why can't you simply give it to the others in line who are equally qualified, and some may argue even more qualified?
Well, these are some of the reasons why some of us have been calling for the Ghana Police Service to be independent. In the case of Kenya, the IGP is elected. The president will make recommendation, and the police themselves will elect their IGP. And the UK, US, other places do that. And so, but in our case, it is not that way. And so, if these things are not managed well, then you have crime, fighting crime becomes a problem, because then the rank and file somehow are not in agreement, and there are various camps here and there who sometimes are not willing to go out there and fight crime. And so for me, I think that the onus is on the deputy IG now and the IG himself to work together to ensure that the rank and file understands the fact that their core mandate is to fight crime. Whether someone has been given a 1 year contract or 2 year contract, for us as citizens, our expectations from them is to ensure that crime levels, have to drop.
And that's the ultimate, I guess, mark with which we'll judge the IGP and the deputy IGP. I'm grateful that you joined us. Adams Bona is a security analyst, knows the inner workings of the police service with the Security Warehouse Limited.
A man who also knows the inner workings of the police service, and he's been the deputy interior minister before, James Agalga. He's also a member of the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament.
He's a ranking
of the Defence and Interior Committee of Parliament, and joins us on the line as well. Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Agalga. Did you also see this coming?
Well, let me say good evening to your listeners. And I should say yes if you consider the fact that the COP Opong Bueno was due for retirement, and somehow the president appointed him from his position as Commissioner of Police to occupy the vacant position of Deputy Inspector General of Police. I predicted somehow that perhaps the president intended to extend the tenure of office of the COP Opong Bueno as Deputy Inspector General of Police. Because if he did not have that intention, I am sure he would probably have appointed a much younger commissioner of police to occupy that position, bearing in mind the fact that whoever occupies the position of deputy IGP is a public servant and retires at the age of 60 years.
But I know this is not the first time this is happening, obviously, but is it the norm that the retiree rather is the one requesting for an extension and not the other way around? In this case, we are told he requested for 2 years but got a year.
Well, legally speaking, I think, the law is very clear. The Constitution is clear. Public servants, and the police service is part of the public services, retire at the age of 60. But there was a constitutional amendment which allowed for the appointing authority to extend the tenure of office of a public servant who reaches the age of 60. And if the exigencies of the service to which that particular public servant belongs requires that the person be granted an extension, he or she could be granted the extension for 2 years maximum in the first instance, 2 more years in the second instance, and 1 year. So cumulatively, 5 years of extension is allowed under the Constitution. But the Constitution requires that the exigencies of the service should require that that extension be granted. What this means is that the Constitution confers a discretionary power on the appointing authority. But you see, the thing about discretionary power is that there are certain parameters within which that power itself can be exercised. It must be exercised in a manner that is fair. It cannot be exercised in a capricious manner. It must be exercised in a very candid way. So, point is, all the agitations that we have so far witnessed following the appointment of COP Opong Buenu could easily be resolved. If the government came out and explained what the exigencies of the service really are, which warranted the extension of his tenure of office. It doesn't matter if the request for extension came from Opong Buenu himself. The appointing authority could do that on its own accord. But in this particular instance, we have been told that the COP Opong, now Deputy IGP, may put in the request and the state obliged. Of course, the state, in this case, which is the appointing authority, made a determination that the exigencies of the service requires that he be granted the extension. So the state would do us good if they were to come out and state the reasons, what the exigencies are. If they did that, I'm sure, government is supposed to be accountable to the people. We're supposed to run a transparent government. If you look at the preamble to the Constitution, it talks about the need for government to be accountable to the people. So a simple statement, I think, would resolve the troubles we have so far witnessed, in the wake of the appointment of COP Opong Buenu.
So just before we let you off, under your tenure, it also happened. I'm sure the next government will also do same, God willing. But should we be looking at an extension of the retirement age, especially for these senior officers?
Well, some arguments have been made to that effect. I know some of the provisions are entrenched, some are not. But if you ask me, I would say 60 years, it depends on the strength of the individual in question. If you, other provisions in the Constitution put the retirement age at 60. For instance, justices of the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court retire at the age of 70. So question to ask is, what is the wisdom in, saying that public servants should retire at 60? There are some public servants whose contribution to the organizations or agencies they work with is sometimes very, very, very useful. But I'm sure that is why there was the need for the constitutional amendment to have been made in the first place.
Okay.
So with time, I'm sure if as a people we come to the conclusion that maybe we should consider the extension of the retirement age. It is for all of us to make our views known and call upon Parliament and the executive to do the right thing.
Mr. Agaga, we're grateful for your time. He's a former Deputy Interior Minister.
Well, Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu has begun investigations into allegations of financial impropriety against CEO of Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company, Francis Essiem.
Now, the embattled finance manager, Julius Opuni Asamoah, petitioned the Office of Special Prosecutor over procurement breaches involving Madame Francis Essiem. The Energy Ministry and State Enterprises Commission early this year set up a committee to investigate allegations of mismanagement at the cylinder manufacturing company. But 6 months after the probe, the findings are yet to be made public.
Well, the Special Prosecutor has waded into the matter, and tonight we have that response. What's the response of the Special Prosecutor to the petition?
So, according to the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the finance manager alleged that the Chief Executive Officer asked him to approve, as protocol, 400 kg LPG cylinders for Nana Amoako, an MP, and a board member, which he declined in this, and it led to a disagreement between the two and subsequently led to his dismissal from office. Again, in the petition to the office, the finance manager alleged a number of transactions allegedly conducted by the CEO's office, which in his estimation contravened Section 92 of the Public Procurement Act. Now, the Special Prosecutor indicated that the allegations listed must be investigated since there are no records to show that the CEO, Francis Essiem, did not follow procurement procedures. Thereafter, the facts and evidence gathered will be studied, and the office will inform the petitioner the next line of action to take. So we are told that the Office of the Special Prosecutor is assuring of handling the issue once it recruits investigators, which he says will be soon.
And that response that was sent out to the petitioner indicates that apparently the Special Prosecutor is in the process of doing the recruitments for investigators, which obviously has stalled his work generally. The finance manager who filed this petition has been speaking to us, talking about his expectations of Mr. Amidu.
And I realized that there were a lot of procurement breaches and infractions. So I decided to check on all payments whether we followed the procurement procedures. I tried severally. I was told that the approval was received from the Ministry of Energy. And I later realized that they were proved to be false. And so looking at the procurement infractions, I didn't want a situation where one day I'll be called upon to face the Public Account Committee in Parliament for them to grill me on the procurement infractions and all other infractions. So my continuous alerting of the CEO proved futile, and I deemed it appropriate to inform the Special Prosecutor so that the Special Prosecutor can investigate, because as a citizen of Ghana, I am incorruptible. I don't condone on corruption. So I deem it appropriate to petition the Special Prosecutor to save the company from a lot of debt.
Has the Special Prosecutor responded to you yet?
The company lifted from collapse. Yes, they responded. They invited me to their office, yes, and gave me their response. So they responded.
Are you satisfied with their response?
Yeah, they say they are going to investigate. So I'm waiting for the day that they will start the investigation. And they assured me that I may be called upon again when the need arises.
The Special Prosecutor is asking for certain document. Have you made it available to the office yet?
Oh yes, I provided the information they needed.
So you heard the Pius there. He's the finance manager, and he has actually petitioned the Special Prosecutor to look into issues at their cylinder manufacturing company.
You're still listening to News Night. It's here on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, Joy News investigations have uncovered what appears to be widespread sexual abuse of female students at the Boise Senior High Technical School. Now, a first-year student is said to have been raped by the teacher in his office during prep hours after he had convinced her to study there. Now, Joy News has learned the student, who we have chosen to call Ikwa, is now unable to go back to school as a result of the intense stigma she faces on campus. Head of our investigations team, Manasa Zuriawone, was there and reports the practice is common in the school.
She went to study during prep hours, but while her colleagues were learning, a teacher who is about 3 times her age forcibly had sex with her in his office. That's the story of Ekuya, not her real name, a 17-year-old student of Obuasi Senior High Technical School. Ekuya says the teacher, Seth Amponsa, assigned her to sweep his office and asked her to study in his office at night when students were supposed to study on their own in the classrooms. She said the teacher made sexual advances at her but failed in his first attempt. Ekuya says she confided in a teacher nicknamed Episcopal who lived close to Mr. Amponsa's office. Anytime Mr. Amponsa came to the office at night, Episcopal would also come around so that she would be safe from any sexual harassment. One night, however, when Mr. Amponsa came and met her alone, he forcibly had sex with her.
He locked
the door and put out the light. It was as if he was prepared. He threw a mattress on the floor and lifted me onto it. I lost control. I could not shout.
The new headmaster of the school would not comment on the matter. The headmaster who was in charge when the incident happened, Andrew Kofisa Akwadia, also declined to comment when Joy News contacted him. They both said the Ghana Education Service had stepped in to investigate the matter and directed me to the Ashanti Regional Office of the GES, where the regional director confirmed the case was being investigated. I also went to meet Seth Amponsa, who has been accused by Ekuya of sexually abusing her. He is a housemaster who lives on campus.
So you are not alone, there are 3 tables?
No, we are 2 now.
2 now.
I think
he would not grant a recorded interview, but he took me to the office where he was alleged to have had sex with his student and spent about an hour explaining his side of the story. He denied having sex with Ekuya. He said some teachers of the school were envious of the many positions he held and had connived with the student to tarnish his reputation. He said even though the girl in question was beautiful, it was ridiculous to suggest that he could have sex with her in such a stuffy office when he could have taken her to a hotel or somewhere else. Apart from his denial of the sexual activity, however, he confirmed almost everything Ekuya told Joy News. He said he had assigned the girl to sweep his office and added that a house mistress later stopped the girl without explaining to him. He also confirmed he allowed the girl to study in his office instead of the classroom at night. He admitted he bought food from town for the girl and gave her money sometimes. Ekuya also said the teacher gave her an old mobile phone through which he communicated with her.
He told me he had a small phone. He said if he bought me food or wanted to send me, he could call me.
Seth Amponsa denied giving Ekuya the phone, but said the girl could have taken it from his office because he had seized phones from students, which he kept in his office where Ekuya had unfettered access. Asked why he seized phones from students but allowed this particular girl to use a phone, Mr. Amponsa said Ekuya often went home and he wanted to check up on her. Ekuya also said a senior once seized the phone and the teacher confronted the senior, took the phone and gave it back to her. Ekuya has dropped out of school because of the stigma. Her father, however, says he doesn't have the money to pay all over again for her to start a new school.
I
am now in retirement. I now have to get a new school and pay admission fees and the rest.
Manasseh Zuriawuni filed that report. Still ahead here on Newsnight, family of 3, including a breastfeeding baby, to spend 3 months in jail as they are found guilty of stealing half a sack of maize.
We were sent to the police station, processed for court and sentenced. We pleaded that we have children and that my sister was carrying a baby, but that didn't yield much.
Well, the Chief Justice has been speaking about this today. We will delve into that right after business. Plus, former President John Mahama accuses the MPP of deceiving the Ghanaian populace with its numerous campaign promises.
One district, one factory. It sounds nice to the ear. One village, one down. Where's one is the $1 million? 1 million, one constituency per year. They called the minister. Where's the $1 million for 2017? And he said, oh, the 2017 one, it has expired.
That's after, we'll give you details of that after business. And George Uafe is in the studio.
I know expiry dates
often
affect products, edibles, and maybe sometimes non-consumable things, but not for services, right? Or
but that's what
for projects.
Hearing. That's what we're hearing.
Well,
told you. Wives,
I'm just asking.
There's some services rendered by wives that can expire.
Wives? Which
and
one?
side...
Like
and the side ones too. Okay. Well, coming up in business, PricewaterhouseCoopers recovers 400 million cedis so far from the sale of assets of UT and Capital Bank. And beverage firms a hint of increasing in price of goods over enforcement of the tax stamp policy. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials, and Mac Auto Parts, distributors of Chevy cars.
In this part of the world, we rise early, way before the sunrise. We plan, we pray, we prep. Just so we are a step ahead. We keep the conversations going to stay connected to family, friends, and business. They say, Agrobeswa Ifrianopa. Start your day bright with MTN Kokroko. For only 1 Ghana cedi, you can enjoy 400 megabytes of data and 30 minutes of free MTN to MTN calls every day from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. everywhere you go. Dial *138# to buy MTN Kokroko bundle now.
Nothing but the best, we stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Joy 99.7 FM.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. We have been able to recover 400 million Ghana cedis from the sale of assets of UT and Capital Bank so far. Now, that's according to the firm appointed to help recover the bad assets of these two liquidated banks, that is PricewaterhouseCoopers. Now, this was contained in a statement issued by the joint receivers and, of course, signed by Eric Nipa. Now, there is more in this report.
According to the joint receivers, majority of the bank's total assets are in loans. PricewaterhouseCoopers values the bank total assets at 3.9 billion cedis, out of which 2.7 billion are in loans. However, the two banks together owe about 4.4 billion cedis to entities like the Bank of Ghana, development finance institutions, employees, and trade suppliers of the bank. This has, however, been reduced to 3.7 billion cedis after the necessary validation by the joint receivers. They also argued the payment to the creditors would be guided by the current Bank of Ghana laws in the country. The joint receivers also say they have initiated civil action against debtors through several writs filed so far. They noted they have brought on board the Economic and Organized Crime Office to deal with some of the criminal issues identified, while they work with the Attorney General for the necessary prosecution. In a related development, PricewaterhouseCoopers says it is working to retrieve all the funds to help pay back all the creditors, including workers.
And that was a Business Desk report. Meanwhile, the joint receivers are also indicating that they will be publishing the names of those who have defaulted in paying loans that they took from these banks in the dailies. Still on the banking sector, World Bank Country Director for Ghana, Henry Karali, is asking the Bank of Ghana to extend the ongoing banking cleanup to the microfinance and rural banks in the country. According to him, little research done by the bank has indicated there's a gap in regulations of these sectors, which has serious impact on the local economy. He however disclosed to Joy Business that the bank is ready to help the Bank of Ghana with these reforms.
There are literally thousands of these microfinance institutions, rural and community banks, savings and loans institutions, and so on. And so when you have such a large number, then it's way beyond the capacity of BOG as at present to be able to supervise all of them individually. Our analysis indicates that there are some of the MFIs that are indeed have issues. We don't know how big that hole is, but we do know that some of them are indeed having issues. But I think we'll leave it up to BOG and the government to come up with the actual figures. But we do know that some MFIs are struggling. We are trying to work with the government to support them in that arena.
Karali spoke to Joy Business after a panel discussion on the opening of the Made in Ghana Finance Week in Accra. The three-day event provides a platform for financial analysts and corporate bodies to discuss possible solutions in developing sustainable funding for the United Nations goal. Now, Ghana could by the end of 2020 be the second country in Africa to issue a green bond. Now, these are government papers issued to raise funding for projects that are said to be environmentally friendly. But is the country ready for this innovation? Let's hear from the head of commercial banking at First National Bank.
Actually, supply is higher than demand, and most green bonds that have been issued have been oversubscribed. Basically, what it means is that you need to go to the right partner to make sure you are shaping it for what it ought to be. Once you've done that, there's no issue with raising the funds.
And that's what First National
That's exactly what First National Bank brings to board. Our expertise, Rand Merchant Bank Group has done that, and we know what to do. And that's exactly what we seek to do with government.
The market is quite turbulent now, and I don't know whether the time is right.
Green bonds are special, and there's a specific market for it, and that is why you must go with the right partner, and that is why we bring our partnership here. And there shouldn't be an issue at all with success with.
Nigeria was the first country in the sub-region to issue the green bond by raising $29 million, also joined by the Cape Town in South Africa, Poland, and France and Fiji are the other countries that have issued this. According to the United Nations, there are about $1 trillion available for countries that want to issue green bonds. The National Insurance Commission has directed the committee to set up to oversee the implementation of the no discount, no policy to come up with the new date for introducing that program. Now, this was contained in a letter sent to all the players in the industry and signed by the regulator on this directive. At a meeting with all the players in the industry, the regulator actually suspended the no discount, no policy due to concerns raised by some industry players. In a related development, the Vice President of the Ghana Insurance Association, Saibu Ali, is proposing a different mechanism to actually deal with this problem of price undercutting in the industry.
We needed to sit down and then look at the whole policy all over again, because if we are talking about just individual vehicles, it's fine. But for some policies, you could have companies having 500 vehicles, 1,000 vehicles. The discount on such policies is a lot. Another point is that NCDs are given to motivate customers to be a lot more careful when they are driving. If you take it out, there is a tendency for customers to become careless, because after all, whether he's involved in an accident or not, he's going to benefit nothing, or he's not going to be penalized. So it might bring about a lot more insured losses, or to make the risk of insurance go up.
Shaibu Ali is the Vice President of the Ghana Insurance Association. Now, some beverage firms have indicated they'll be forced to increase their prices again if the current concerns about the tax stamp program is not addressed. Now, some major beverage firms have already hiked their prices over the current concern with the VAT rate calculation as well as cost of production. The Ghana Revenue Authority last week began full enforcement of this policy by sealing off the distribution sites of some of these manufacturing firms. Let's hear from Samuel Agri, who is the General Secretary of the Food and Beverage Association.
Passed on to exactly. So whoever is producing will have to pass on the cost, because I can't see how I need to revamp my structure and have to spend over $100,000 US and then at the end of the day I say it's Father Christmas. No one is a Father Christmas. So with the tax stamp issue, we have brought it upon ourselves because there is a way we could go about it by introducing a digital tax stamp. Those who are doing this paper stamping are moving away from it. Those who started are moving away.
If you make these proposals, because government said that they've tried all the scenarios and they believe that this is the best approach, and you are just finding excuses for this, and that's why they're saying that now you are starting the thing. If you don't comply, we'll prosecute, you seize your item.
Whether you prosecute, you seize the items, you don't achieve anything. This is bullying tactics that they want to.
Samuel Agre is the General Secretary of the Food and Beverage Association. Let's turn attention to the stock market. And MTN suffered one of its losses on the stock market today. It was down by a peso to close at 92 pesos. It first loss on the market after it began trading on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And that's all for business on News 9. Back to expiry updates from Evans.
No comment, George. Thank you very much. What a devilish act on the part of that teacher. A thorough investigation should be done, and when found guilty, should be made to face the law. Courage Benson in Keta sent us that WhatsApp message.
And John Kofi in Accra says, Evans, this extension of years happened in prison service just this year. Even this was worse than police. Some who's the Director General, who is 50 years, was forced to sit in the house and extend old man who is 60 years to another 2 years. And then Kofi Seidu also says teachers who satisfy their sexual lust on innocent young girls entrusted into their care should be given the severest of punishment to serve as deterrent to like-minded sexual predators parading as teachers.
And this one has no name, but it says, this is Walanyo. Says the former president will not stop talking so that Dr. Bawumia will also stop replying him on incompetence. He's campaigning in the capacity as what? Ghanaians know what you can do by allowing your brother to issue 44 that checks. Ghanaians are finished with you, he says.
And this one says JDM is underrating his fellow contestants. That's why he's rather attacking the ruling government. Some of your messages that you sent in via WhatsApp on 0244340437. On to some other stories now. A mother of 5, her mother, who has 6 children, and her sister, who is a nursing mother, will for the next 3 months spend time at Insaum prison after they were found guilty of stealing half a sack of maize.
Well, the child who is yet to walk is with them in prison as well, and they have started serving that sentence. The Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, SHRAJ, believes such sentences handed persons who commit petty crimes, such as, allegedly stealing a sack of maize, half a sack of maize,
yes,
by the way, must be quickly addressed through the passage of a non-custodial sentence law. Now, Deputy Commissioner of SHRAJ, Richard Kwesing, has been speaking at the forum on non-custodial sentence where a convict narrated her chilling story. In fact, the Chief Justice had some reservations about the way the mother was paraded at that particular event after she was brought in by the prison officers from her jail cell. There is more in the following report.
I am Hannah Ofei. I am from Adesso. I was incarcerated together with my mother and sister. We went to farm to get some maize. We were trying to locate the farm owner to ask for permission.
The testimony of an inmate of the Insaum prison who was convicted for allegedly stealing half a sack of maize. She shares her cell with her mom and another sibling who had accompanied them to a neighbor's farm that fateful day.
We were sent to the police station, processed for court and sentenced. We were to serve our sentence at the Insaum prison. We pleaded that we have children and that my sister was carrying a baby, but that didn't yield much. We're in prison with my sister's child.
The child is with us at the prison also. Her story reflects the state of Ghana's judicial system, overcrowding, inmates remanded without trial, and long jail terms handed people for crimes many consider minor dominate discussions on custodial sentences. The forum brought together the Chief Justice Sophia Ekufu, representatives from the Interior Ministry, Police and Prison Service. CJ Sophia Ekufu urged the convict to appeal the sentence.
When a sentence is passed, there are 2 things that can be done. One, there can be an application to the supervising High Court judge, especially this must have been a magistrate court or circuit court action. So there can be an application to the supervising High Court judge to review the sentence, not the conviction, but the sentence. Or there can be appeal. Appeals take a longer time. These applications can be within 48 hours because this is such a simple matter.
Deputy Commissioner of Shraj, Richard Kwesi, called for a swift passage of the law regulating non-custodial sentence.
All of us here should take this morning's exercise very seriously and do what is needful. 2 decades of discussions and consultations on non-custodial sentencing should end somewhere.
Well, interesting report there. Let's speak to Jonathan Osawusu, who is Executive Director of the POS Foundation. They are pushing for this particular law. Thank you, Mr. Osawusu, for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you very much, my brother.
The Chief Justice today asked that this is a simple case of filing an application at the higher court and getting the sentencing dealt with there. Is this something that the organization intends to pursue for this woman in question?
Thank you and good evening to your listeners. Very well. We have been facilitators of the justice for nearly 5 years now, so it's something that we would love to do, but unfortunately it got to our end just last 3 days, and the lady and the mother and the other sibling is due to go out next week, Tuesday. That means they finish serving their sentence. And if you had listened to the story very well, the nursing mother who has the baby inside prison was fined to pay 350 Ghana cedis. And looking at the way the family is poor, to the extent of going to gather maize from a field, they couldn't pay. And so that lady also joined the mother. And then that is why it's a bit disheartening in terms of the whole scene, and one may describe it as a way of criminalizing poverty. But for me to do something about it, I would say that by the time we take the steps necessary to get them out, they would have duly served their sentence and gone out. But the lesson it brings to us is what we want to let the public be aware, and to have a legislative reform so that these things will not reoccur. If the judge had an option to sentence such people to a non-custodial way, that would have served a purpose, like community service. They could have gone to read the man's farm as a way to compensate the man. And we don't have any alternative sentencing policy apart from a fine, police supervision, suspension of sentence when the person is pregnant, and just some few others. So that is why we met at the forum to propose a draft bill to look at coming up with a legislative instrument on getting an alternative sentencing policy.
On the case of this particular woman, poor woman, she spent the 3 months already behind bars with a baby.
Almost.
Yeah. I mean,
it's due next week.
It's due out next week. And you say that the judge had no other option. I mean, once they couldn't pay the fine.
The judge had the option of getting a fine and not sending the nursing mother to incarceration.
But once they couldn't pay the fine, that becomes an impossible task of trying to do anything else.
Exactly, because there is nothing like community service and nothing, except the judge could bond the lady and then like caution or bond the lady of good behavior and discharge the lady. Though that will be conviction, she has not given any sentence to go to prison.
But so forgive me. So the judge under the current dispensation could have bonded her and let her go?
That is discretionary, and that is stealing. And so far as it comes under stealing, I don't think In some cases, she could be bonded. But what I'm trying to say is that stealing, I am not so sure that the person can be bonded. But I'm saying because we don't have alternative sentencing, in some kind of charges, the judge can go ahead and bond the person of good behavior, which I'm not so certain about that of the charge stealing.
Today we had also comments such as, we've been talking about this for years. The Chief Justice today was there. She saw it. Has anybody drafted anything yet? And is government willing to push this to Parliament?
Civil society, we have fortunately come up with a draft through the admonishment of the Chief Justice, and that's why it has moved faster. Because as soon as we sent it to the office of the Chief Justice, she sent it through the system, and now we have had the National Stakeholder Forum. We are moving to the regions to seek public consultation, and then we bring it back to the Ministry of Interior, which is the sector ministry. Then it can take the process through the Attorney General's Department. So we hope that we can get Act 30 of the Criminal Procedure and Other Offences Act amended so that we can have alternatives to incarceration, so that people who are charged with misdemeanors, minor offences, non-violent crime, and you could see this one is a matter of food and hunger. They will not go back to prison for us to feed them. So we hope we get there.
Yeah.
And it's long overdue, like the Commissioner of Shraj mentioned.
I'm grateful that you joined us, Mr. Sowusu. This is a very interesting conversation to have, in fact. What do you make of this? A woman who, purely because she was hungry and has is a mother who's breastfeeding a baby, needs to feed herself and the baby, and so goes onto somebody else's farm, and she was convicted of stealing half a sack of maize, spends 3 months in jail because she couldn't pay 300 cedis. What do you make of that? Send us a WhatsApp 0244340437. Let's do sports now. Hello, Hans.
Hi, Evans.
What do you have in the headlines?
Right, so in sports, the technical director of the Ghana Boxing Authority, Coach Ofori Asare, is already counting the benefits of the upcoming Boxing League, which begins on Friday at the Bukom Boxing Arena. The 26th tournament format, also known as the Fist of Fury, will be a mix of juvenile, amateur, and professional fight, spiced up with musical performances and fashion. Coach Asare believes the platform will be a good one for the home-based boxers to further develop their skills and grow their respective careers. He spoke to Joy Sports at the official news conference to announce the first fight night at the MJ Grand Hotel at East Legon earlier today.
We did. I think it was this Monday that we end that championship. And out of that, we'll be selecting boxers to the national team. But most of the times when you have boxers into the national team, they don't have competitions. So this league also serves as a way of giving another platform for boxers who are not able to compete in the individual championship, or maybe they didn't do well. We will have a chance of showcasing themselves again. And if it happens that they prove themselves to be worthy enough to be selected into the national team, why not? We'll give them that chance. And so we don't take bribe to get people into the national team. It is competition. It is out of competition and your performance that take you into the national team. Actually,
let's get updates from the 2018 Summer Youth Olympics, and Ghanaian swimming sensation Abeku Jackson has qualified to the semi-finals of the men's 50 meters butterfly event at the Youth Olympics going on in Buenos Aires, Argentina. The 18-year-old finished second and clocked a new personal best with a time of 24.44 seconds. That's your sports.
Thank you very much, Hans. It's time now for Joy News Agenda. And the Aveime Rice Factory was revived years ago to produce a good volume of Ghana's rice demand. But after its closure 3 years ago, the factory is said to be rusting away. Joy News' reporter Joseph Opoku Gakpo visited the factory for our Joy News Agenda today.
The company was revived in 2007 following long years of dormancy after it first collapsed as Quality Grains Company. At the height of its operations, the Prev Volta Limited, known popularly as the Aveime Rice Factory, employed more than 300 people on its farms and rice milling sites. The company produced almost 9,000 tons of paddy rice a year, which it sold under the brand name Volta Rice with jasmine perfume and Tira varieties. But Proud Texas says government refusal to take responsibility for worn-out equipment made it impossible for them to attract fresh investment. John Van Dyke Mensah is one of the U.S. investors.
It's all because of failed government promises, starting from the word go.
The company closed down eventually in 2015. Heavy-duty machinery used on the farms are all sitting down idle. Irrigation pumps, equipment for planting, harvesting, dehusking and polishing of rice are all deteriorating. Planting and plowing tools as well as an aircraft that was used for spraying have all been left without use. The 3,000 metric ton storage tank for rice is rusting away.
And let's head up north now. Former President John Dramani Mahama is tonight accusing the governing NPP of deceiving the Ghanaian populace with its numerous campaign promises, yet delivered on none. Addressing a crowd of party supporters at Nangudi in the Nabdam district of the Upper Mr. Mahama cited the One District, One Factory and then also One Village, One Dam, which he says has become a dugout, and the 1 million, One District promise, which he says will never materialize.
One district, one factory. It sounds nice to the ear. Then not only that, one village, one dam. Then now the reality comes. Okay, where's the dam? And they go and dig experimental one. They come and look and say, oh, but this is a dugout. It's not a dam. They say, yes, we meant dugout. Oh, and so if it was dugout you were saying, you should have told us. It's okay, it doesn't matter. Dugout we like, so you do the dugout. Where are the dugouts? Zalam. The worst one is the $1 million. 1 million, one constituency. Not only 1 million, one constituency, 1 million, one constituency per year. That one to Zalam. They called the minister, where's the $1 million for 2017? And he said, oh, the 2017 one, it has expired. Have you ever seen $1 million expire?
Well, Mr. Mahama also raised concerns about projects that were started in the previous administration, yet abandoned under this government.
Look at Upper West Regional Hospital in Wa, 95% complete. The equipment are there, just waiting to install the equipment and operationalize the hospital. Somebody has built a hospital 95% complete with equipment, everything. Just put the equipment and come and put the plaque there. You write your name there that you commissioned it. That one too you can't do. What is difficult about doing that one? You can write your name on it that you commissioned it. But let the hospital work and provide services to the people. Today we are suffering because we are not in power. The schools that we started are standing there. We just passed by one. Almost finished, about 70% completed. But the new government does not think that e-schools are their priority. And so they've left it standing there. I've gone around the length and breadth of the country since I started this tour. And the roads that were started have been left where they were. This government will start awarding new roads, but that road that we awarded is no longer their priority. And so the road comes to a standstill. So it is important for us to fight for political power so that we can come back into government and continue the program that we started.
And former President John Dramani Mahama there. And in the next few minutes, there is going to be breaking news on Joy.
She's strong, she's sassy, and she's hosting Strong and Sassy.
Oh my God.
Guess who?
Oh, the name is too heavy to pronounce.
Really?
Yes, this is Araba Kumsing. Well, Araba Kumsing is on your radio.
The beautiful,
the strong, the intelligent, the sassy. Araba Kumsing is on your radio from 7 to 8. And what is she talking about?
And they are asking or looking at ladies who left their 9 to 5 p.m. jobs to establish their own business.
Oh, okay. I know Araba has a business like that.
So she definitely knows what she's going to
She definitely knows what she's going to talk about. You don't want to miss that for anything. And please, for the men, watch it on Facebook Live. Women, you can listen. Just listen. The men, just watch it. I know. You know why I'm saying you should watch it. Just watch it.
It's hosting Strong and Sassy tonight.
That's it for News Night.
I am MFA.
I'm going to watch it on Facebook Live.
Before PM Express tonight, right?
I haven't had enough of her in the studio.
Yes.
Yes.
There's more news when you log on to my journal.